So today I want to talk about loneliness, and specifically the type of loneliness that comes from picking up and moving to a whole new country. Because if you've done it, you're thinking about doing it, or you're in the thick of it right now, nobody really prepares you for that part. I say this as someone who's been living in Medellin, Colombia for over 7 years now, since before the pandemic. I've been through the versions of this feeling. The early version, where you question every decision you've ever made. The middle version, where you've built just enough of a life to clearly see what's missing. And the version I live now, which has its own loneliness, but a different kind. The loneliness of building something, which it turns out has nothing to do with where you are. But let's start in the beginning. The first thing I want to say, and this reframe has helped me more than anything else, is you would have been lonely anyway. Think about it. Any time you've ever walked into any situation as an adult, a new job, first day at a new school, first week of college, you were lonely. You were outside of your comfort zone. Maybe you knew people, maybe you knew no one. Then you went home and everything was quiet, and even though you're excited, you might have wondered if you made a mistake. Doubt can creep in. And then a year later, you had friends and routines, and it became a part of your life. And you'd almost forgotten what those first months felt like. Moving abroad is the same timeline, the same arc, just with better weather, at least in the case of Medellin, the city of eternal spring, and often worse bureaucracy, as is also the case in Colombia. We forget this because we've been in our existing lives long enough that the entry loneliness has worn off. The friend group feels permanent. The routine feels like it was always there, but it wasn't. You built it brick by brick, slowly, every day, day after day, and you can build it again somewhere else. It just takes time, and it's uncomfortable in the middle. And that's just the deal. The friend group you're protecting by staying home has its own erosion built into it. People move on, have kids, and the older you get, especially for men, the harder it is to make and keep friends unless there's a shared activity involved. A job, a sport, a car engine. Women have been shown to be better at making and keeping friends with just a catch-up or a chat. Without that structure, friendships quietly evaporate, and you realize you haven't had a real conversation with anyone outside of your family, maybe even with them, in longer than you'd care to admit. So the idea that staying is safe and leaving is risky, I'd push back on that. Staying has risks too. They're just slower and easier to ignore until they're not. So what actually helps? And I'm not going to give you the Facebook expat group speech because you've heard that, and I've never really found that particularly useful personally. Maybe to find recommendations for Chinese food. Number one, and this is non-negotiable if you're moving somewhere that doesn't primarily speak English, learn the language. I speak Spanish, and I cannot tell you the difference that makes. Without it, you're permanently stuck on the surface of every interaction. You can conduct transactions. You can order food. Uno más cerveza, por favor. You can have a perfectly pleasant tourist existence. You will never have a real conversation, a real friendship, a real life in your new country. You will never, if it's your goal, find love through a translator app or one of those creepy recording glasses. You will always be on the sidelines looking in. Learn the language. It's the single highest leverage thing you can do. Number two, have a project that pulls you out of your apartment and gives you a reason to engage with the world. For me, that's content creation, my newsletter, this channel. It gives me a reason to go places, pay attention, talk to people I never would have talked to before. Without it, I'd spend a lot more time on the couch watching Netflix. But the project creates motion, and motion creates opportunity. Netflix and video games are fine, and I've done both in excess. I'm not going to pretend otherwise, but they don't accidentally introduce you to somebody, except maybe some Korean kid who massacres your entire Call of Duty troop before you can say, he's behind the... And that, unfortunately, is not the type of human connection I'm talking about. Number three, say yes to things you would have been too busy to say yes to back home. I'll give you an example. My landlord, a good guy, we have a decent relationship, but it's landlord-renter relationship, invited me to his finca. He runs a cattle operation hours outside of the city, growing and selling cows, fattening them up, I guess would be the term. He fats cows. And I said yes. Who else do I know who's had the opportunity to spend time on a working cattle ranch in rural Colombia, surrounded by tropical fruit trees, eating fruit I've never seen before in my life? There's one called the guama. It's about this big, known as the ice cream bean. It looks and tastes like cotton candy. having conversations I couldn't have had anywhere else. Back in the US with a full calendar and an established social life, I would have found a polite reason not to go. I would have been busy. But here, when your calendar has space in it and you're still building your social infrastructure, you say yes. And sometimes what you find on the other side of yes is genuinely extraordinary. A cattle ranch in Colombia is not something most people get to see up close. And for that one example, there's countless more. Weigh the experiences against the spaces in between. The spaces in between are uncomfortable. The experiences are irreplaceable. The last thing I want to say is about the hard days, because they come. Even now they come. My way of handling it is to think of it like being sick. When you have a bad cold, you feel terrible. Your whole life is medicine and tissues and true crime dramas. Some of us. Weirdly, when I'm not sick, I don't watch true crime dramas. What's that about? But you know a cold's gonna pass, and it passes. The mistake is treating a temporary state like a permanent diagnosis. The low periods are real, but they're not forever. You just gotta wait it out. Keep your body moving. Gym, tennis, walking, whatever it is for you. Routine is an underrated antidepressant. And remember, every single day abroad, even the mundane ones, even going to the market or standing in line at the bank, is an experience that is expanding you, whether you enjoy it or not, or whether you feel like it is or not. It is. You are becoming more three-dimensional. You're building empathy. You're seeing that the way we do things back home is not actually the only way, or maybe even the best way. And that realization alone is worth the price of a flight. The loneliness is real. It's also the admission price for a bigger life. And in my experience, it's worth it. There's still nights where I'm eating canned tuna or eggs straight from the pan because I couldn't be bothered watching something terrible, thinking this is a bigger life. This is what I traded everything else for. And then the next day, I'm at a 3-hour lunch with someone I never would have met, taking a $15 tennis lesson with a pro from Bogota, watching this unbelievable city of Medellin being discovered by the world in real time, eating an avocado bigger than your head, visiting a tomato farm for reasons I don't know. I said yes, and writing and building something. And yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't say I still find some time to play Minecraft. But that's exactly what I traded it for. The loneliness is real. It's also the admission price for a bigger life. And in my experience, worth it. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. There's a companion piece in this week's A Texas Nomad, my newsletter that comes out every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central Time, where I explore this and all sorts of topics, including a book recommendation, which I think pairs really well with what we're talking about today. Remember, don't escape, design. See you next week.